Head to the house tonight, YouTube. I made a video today earlier, but somehow it got deleted. It's my fault it got deleted. I'm not saying YouTube deleted it, but this morning, when I was on my way in, I made a video this morning about the hypocrisy of liberal Hollywood. On my way to talking about the hypocrisy of both sides, but I started off with, liberal Hollywood. So, I'm really not going to go all the way back through everything I said today. I hate I lost the footage, but just to kind of give a summation of what I talked about, I pretty much just broke down what the word woke actually means by definition, as it relates to the people who originated it, what it means to the black community, what it meant for the black community, and how the word has been taken, it has been bastardized, and it has been perverted now with new definitions attached to it to, feed some appropriators' narrative. And I basically just kind of gave a defense of the word woke, and how the meaning that they've attached to it now is not what it actually means. And I will not, myself, I would not allow the word to be taken and used. I would defend it, at every turn, because the meaning has been changed. And as people usually do, they take things, they appropriate things, they change the meaning of them. But, so anyway, I went through that whole spiel about the word woke and what it actually means. And then I just went on to talk about liberal Hollywood and their hypocrisy with the inclusion thing, on-screen inclusion. And I made a point to, say on-screen inclusion, because that is the only part of the movie making process that, liberal Hollywood is inclusive with. Liberal Hollywood is not inclusive with the behind the scenes demographic. They're not inclusive with the producer category demographic. They're not inclusive with the ownership. The ownership of the actual film companies are not inclusive. So, the fact that they only push and force inclusion on screen is highly hypocritical of them. And if anything, that's the real, that's a part of the real racism, or the real, bigotry, or whatever the fuck it is. Whatever you want to call it. But that's it there. It's stuff like that, and liberals are infested with covert racism, which, at least from the right, it's kind of overt. I wish they would be more overt with their, so we could just go ahead and move on, get stuff out in the open. People, let them know how they feel and get out in the open. But anyway, liberals have so much covert racism, and they champion themselves and pat themselves on the back, for actually engaging in covert racism. And I'm only using racism because, that's what they like to use so much. They carry a fine-tooth comb of racism to run it through anybody's statement, run it through anybody's history. A fine-tooth comb of racism to see what they can find, what type of innuendo they could get, what type of inference they can, infer from something someone said that could potentially make them racist. But they do not use that fine-tooth comb for themselves. Because if liberals use the same fine-tooth comb that they judge everyone else's racism by and apply it to themselves, they would see that covertly and, earn the table. Y'all are just as racist as any other overtly racist person out there, saying nigger. You know, you don't have to say nigger to be racist. You know, you don't have to just talk bad about people to be racist. You can do exactly what liberal Hollywood is doing, forcing inclusion in the smallest area of impact. Actually, the smallest area. The on-screen is you know, as far as the whole movie making process, it's one of the smallest areas of the entire film process. But it's the one that gets the most attention. It's the one that gets the most credit. But they force inclusion in the smallest part of the filmmaking process while keeping the rest of the process, you know, for the most part, lily white. And then they pat themselves on the back for, you know, being inclusive. And, you know, I was just, earlier I was just saying, you know, how they have forsaken quality, forsaken good writing, forsaken good acting and direction for just, you know, a message. Which is nothing wrong with the message. You know, it's never what you do, it's always how you do it, right? So the message has always been around. And some of our favorite movies that everyone loves, that everybody can agree on, they have plenty of messages in them. But the message is not the sole purpose of the movie. Well, the message is not made the sole purpose of the movie over quality and over good acting, good direction, you know, so forth and so on. Although the movie could be made to convey that message, the message does not take forefront in terms of importance and priority in front of making sure you have the best actors, making sure you have the best writers, making sure you have the best direction. So there has been a trade-off in the lack of quality for this, you know, fake-ass inclusion that they want to try to push, you know. And I was just saying earlier today that, you know, from the woke right, the woke conservatives, that side of the woke spectrum, you know, they are right for that particular part of the, you know, of what they bitch and moan about. They are right about the part of there's just not, you know, there's no quality. And there's no quality because, you know, Hollywood's too busy trying to virtue signal without actually putting their money where their mouth is and investing in black projects, investing in black characters instead of race swapping. You know, the patronage is wild. You just race swap characters for on-screen presence, but the entire remainder of the film process, majority is lily white, and then, you know, you give us crap. You give us absolute crap. And you actually make it bad because, you know, I just take Jodie Turner-Smith, right? Who was in, you know, The Acolyte. You know, she was the head, you know, mother of the fucking yodeling witches and shit. She's a great actress. Great actress. But seeing her in that show, you would think that, oh man, this, you know, she fucking sucks. Like, you make black actors look so bad when you do that. Because they're only coming in and performing a job, you know. Like, it takes direction, it takes leadership to form good movies. That's why you have Oscar-winning actors who can go and, you know, in one movie win an Oscar, and in another movie they can bomb out. Because it's not just on them and their acting. It's mainly the director who pulls the talent and, you know, from the actor, who directs the actor. That's the point of a director. But, like, you actually have the reverse effect, forcing inclusion and forsaking, you know, diversity for quality. You know, you can, again, you can be diverse, but be diverse in just more than on screen. Be diverse behind the scenes. Be more diverse behind the scenes. Be diverse in your budget. That's how you can really show your commitment to diversity is diversify your budget. Invest in black stories, original stories. Invest in black writers. Put those stories out. Give those stories a chance. Put the right marketing behind it. Basically, anything can be sold nowadays for the most part with the right marketing. Especially if it's even halfway, good. It can be sold. So, I was just, basically today, early, in the earlier video, that's the point I was at, where I was just, exposing the liberal hypocrisy and all of the liberal covert racism that they, perpetrate, while believing they're standing on some high horse because they're only diversifying, or they're only being inclusive with substantially the smallest part of the film process, even though it gets the most attention, and it's just super hypocritical, super duper hypocritical. So, the people on the woke right, when it comes to that aspect of it, they are right about that. It's a lot of bullshit in movies. It's a lot of crap. The Acolyte sucked. Rings of Power sucked. Rings of Power is a disgrace. I was also, saying that. How they just, bastardized Tolkien's, legacy. Like that's his shit. That's British legacy. And I'm not one to sit out here and cap for Britons and Europeans, because they don't need protecting or defending. They run the world. But it's just a fact of the matter that him individually, this was this man's version of his history. And and I was also saying that even though he's given his version of his history, he even had brown people or dark-skinned people in his story. And I made a point to say, to point out that another form of the Hollywood covert liberal hypocrisy and covert racism and hypocrisy is that even within these stories that were about ancestral lands of fair-skinned people, they still have black people or brown people in those stories. They still have, people in there that gives you an opportunity to make a story about people of color who are included in the story. There's no need to go and race swap the traditional characters that people have come to know and love, while you ignore the actual characters in these stories, in these books, that are actually of color. It's wild. Tolkien has a whole race of colored people that you could come up with a story from. Since you want to make up stories anyway, don't make up stories about established lore just to fit, us in, and think that's cool when, again, 95% of the rest of the filming process is still lily white. But not only that, you're changing these people's stories, throwing us in, when in the actual lore, there's plenty of people of color that you could go and find and make up stories about, because he really didn't touch on them too much. He just included them. And just the fact that they're included, the common sense thing would be okay, we want to be diverse. We want to be inclusive. We want to bring black people into the Lord of the Rings. All right. Well, you know what? Would you look at here? Tolkien in his lore has people of color, brown-skinned people. But boom. That opens the door for every motherfucking person of color under the sun. There's differentiated from black to Mexican, Hispanic, to Middle Eastern, to Indian, to Native American. It opens the door up to every person, people of thing of color that you want to think about. And since you're already creating stories with established lore, leave the established lore where it is. Create new stories with characters who he didn't really go deep upon and delve into, and use that to create stories that are ancillary to the original story. To where you're changing the lore critically, but you're adding to it from a perspective that he really didn't delve into, but he left the door there open for you. So there's plenty of room for black people in Lord of the Rings and Tolkien's universe, but shit, there's a way to fucking do it. And that goes for every fucking one major item that does not have black people or people of color written into the lore. Not one. You won't find not a one. Not a comic book, not a film franchise, not a nothing hardly, where there is not some type of person of color written into the lore for you to take them and expound upon them and their make it coincide with, not collide, but coincide with the main lore, with maybe small adjustments here to kind of justify here and there, but nothing really critical, and expound on those characters. But they don't do that. They don't do that. And then they want to get mad at these people who, hey, I was also saying today that, like, you're changing the main thing that most of these people love about their characters. They love their skin color. Beyond all of the virtuous shit the characters do, beyond their powers and all this shit, for most folks, they love them because they're white. They love Superman. Listen, he can shoot fire out of his eyes, he can fly, he can do all this shit. That's great. They do love that too. But he's white. He's a great representation of them because that's how they feel they are seen. And that's how they want to be seen. So for you to make Superman black, you're like, wait a minute, man. Like, shit, that's our idol. Get your own. Which, they are right. In which we do have other superheroes that could be introduced. But Hollywood will not put the money where their mouth is. They do, partial bullshit like with what Warner Brothers did with The Color Purple. So this is how they justify, again, another form of covert to justify their inclusiveness, right? So Warner Brothers have quota, they have to spend so much towards, black productions. What's crazy is they cut the budget of House of the Dragon, which was devastating to it, and the storyline of it, and some other shows, to at the end of the fiscal year throw out a bunch of money to Oprah to make their quota for black people, and look at the shit we would produce with The Color Purple 2. As much as I love seeing our folks, on screen and, like all together showing talent and all this shit, like it's not good enough just to be there. Especially if we're not performing to our top ability. And we're not putting, the best foot forward. Putting out the absolute best product available. So that is another prime real life example of the covert racism that liberal Hollywood perpetuates, and the hypocrisy of them to act as if they're so inclusive and as if they're so diverse. But when you really look at it, you're only diverse at the smallest, the most insignificant part of the film process, which is on the screen from a substantial standpoint. Again, even though it gets all the attention, of course, because nobody sees the behind the scenes. But it still is the smallest part of the filmmaking process. And so, because you make this small area of this entire whole process diverse, everything is cool and good to go. And it's not. It's horrible, man. Like, that's no better than, again, racism from the right, or bigotry from the right, or hypocrisy from the right. And again, just another prime example of how all these people are the fucking same. Like, they both do the same shit, they just do it different. Bitch and moan about different topics, but all ended with the same result. No matter what topic they argue about, no matter what topic they bring up, the same, we're still going to end up with the same result, which is everything gets higher, that we have to pay for. Our income and our revenue share doesn't grow, just our expenses. And, you know, we keep getting the same bullshit. Because those two keep fighting over it. And everything I just said about the liberals and how, you know, hypocritical they are, I'm going to take it over to the conservatives. For everything I just said about them, I can say the same for the conservatives, but it's going to be on the flip side. So conservatives, when it comes to, you know, popular culture and, you know, popular IP, the first thing they look for is the on-screen representation, right? Which is what I just talked about, right? And what I just say about the on-screen representation, right? See, now this is, again, here, this is where the woke right comes in. They bitch and moan about on-screen representation, and we just talked about how on-screen representation is the smallest part, physically, of the filmmaking process. The smallest part. While the rest of the filmmaking process is never even brought up with the conservatives. All they care about is, oh, how many whites are on screen? Oh, there's so many blacks on screen. There's not enough whites on screen. Now again, this has nothing to do with the quality of the film, because the films, you know, are bullshit. I'm not even talking about them. They are releasing a lot of bullshit films. But right now, I'm talking about even in good films. Here comes the woke right. Oh, there are no white people on screen. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, woke, DIE, no white people on screen. And again, let me remind you, the on-screen part of the film process is the smallest part, just as I talked about with the liberals. That they only invest in the on-screen diversity and inclusion. Okay, the Republicans, I mean the conservatives and the woke right, they only invest in the smallest part of the film process, with not even considering the other 95% of the film process that's lily white. Conservatives, check your fucking self. You do all the bitching and moaning about black people on screen. You are up in arms because there's some black folks on screen. That is more black people than white people on screen. But you ain't saying shit about the crew that's 90% white. You ain't saying shit about the producers that are probably 90% white. And you're not saying shit about the ownership of those particular companies, which are 90% white. You're also not talking about the percentage of the people who are getting the revenue boost from the movie being produced in that area. All of the business owners, all of the everyone who they have to use. I wonder what the percentage of those people are white. The majority. So in every part of the film process, white people proliferated. It's white. Every single part of it, except for the smallest part. And if you remember, I talked about this in my other videos about how conservatives only bitch and moan about the smallest part of things. And only because most times the smallest part of things are going to color people. All types of people of color. Black, red, brown, Like, they only complain about the smallest area. So although 95% of the entire filming process is lily white, the smallest percentage, which is the on-screen percentage, is not lily white, and you thinking white people about to go extinct. So you worry about the representation on screen, but then to discredit people of colors, wanting representation, you say representation is not important. You say they shouldn't need a black superhero to relate to a superhero. But you only focus in on the smallest part of the filming process, which just so happens to be the representation part of the film process, because it's the on screen. But y'all never talk about the other shit. Nerdrotic. The Critical Drinker. Like those guys. Ryan Killer. Oh my God, man. Ryan Killer. Ryan Killer hates black people. And it's not like just a, racist thing. He probably feels like he has a good reason to, but, listen, that dude hate niggas. I can tell you, Ryan Killer hates niggas, man. Like, Geeks and Gamers, maybe not so much, but Ryan Killer hates niggas. That's a whole nother subject. But, and again, this also goes back to what I talk about too, about how the most conservatives only unite with their hate. So all of these guys, the Friday Night Types with Nerdrotic, and Geeks and Gamers, and those guys, whatever, like, they're only united for their hate and their dislike for color people getting things, people of color getting shit. Now again, I must say, it's some bullshit being released, guys. I understand. You are right. Hey, you guys are most definitely right about the bullshit being released. You are. But right now, I'm not talking about the quality of the fucking film. I'm talking about folks on screen and yelling like woke fucking liberals. You become conservatives, bitch and moan about your lack of representation, which you tell the other side that it's not important, but you bitch and moan to consider the rest of the 95% of the filming process and how dominated by whites it is. No. While you may be right about lack of quality in film, is right twice a day, you still are fucked up that you are, even if Hollywood was dropping nothing but fucking bangers. I'm talking about bangers. Even if the message wasn't at the forefront, the fact that the films will not be lily white, the fact that oh my God, and you all are even so much more, like, you're just as nitpicky as the left, because now you're saying, now the white guys got to be villains. We can't have a good white hero anymore. Like, oh my fucking God, dude, shut the absolute fuck up, snowflake. What in the fuck? The greatest villains of all time in film have been white. What are we talking about? The best and the greatest fucking villains ever. What are we talking about? White people can't be villains? Do you not realize how woke you are to say that? Oh my God. You're only worried about the on-screen representation, completely ignoring all the other shit. So that's how I know you're united in hate. Nerdrotic and all you other guys. Mauler. Mauler's another one. Mauler can't stand nigga either. Mauler hate black people. He can't stand us either, But they're only united in hate because at no point can you ever find any video or any critique or anything they're saying or where they mention how lily white the rest of the filming process is. Even down to the vendors who get all the money when making the filming process. All the people that, for those of you who don't know, whenever Hollywood does a movie in an area they're in, they bring an economic boost to that area. So they use all the local people, all the local businesses to get shit done. And we already know who own most of the businesses everywhere in America. White folks. We understand that. So it's crazy that y'all sit back and bitch and moan about the smallest fucking percentage of not being represented in full because your representation on screen doesn't match your representation in real life. You're mad about that, but you're completely ignoring the fact that the representation with the entire film process exceeds your representation in real life. The representation of whites in the film process, the entire film process, exceeds your representation in society. But you're only worried about the fact that your representation on screen only doesn't match your actual representation in society. Come on, man. Come on with the hypocrisy, man. Y'all all about hate. You hate anything that people of color get, even if it's minuscule. The same way you conservatives focus on, as I said earlier, focus on the food stamps and... Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I locked my phone. But, hold on. What happened? I need to turn my thing around. Wait a minute. My live, what's going on? Why can't I see something? Hold on, guys. I hit the lock button on my phone, and my camera's going out. Can y'all see me? Oh, shit. It's always something.